Lucia Caminos, the first female protagonist in GTA history. Let's start with the character who made history before the game even came out. Lucia Caminos is one of GTA 6's two playable protagonists, and she's the first female lead in a mainline Grand Theft Auto game. Not the first woman you can play in GTA. There have been optional female characters in the original games and in GTA Online. But Lucia is the first woman at the center of a single-player GTA story, with a voice actress, a full backstory, and a narrative built around her. That's a big deal for a franchise that's been running since 1997. So who is she? Lucia grew up in Liberty City, GTA's version of New York, with her mother, who dreamed of a better life. Her father taught her to fight from the moment she could walk. That upbringing made her tough, capable, and street smart. But at some point, fighting for her family landed her in the Leonida Penitentiary. Rockstar hasn't confirmed the exact crime, but the framing is clear. She wasn't doing it for herself. She was doing it for the people she loved. She gets out through what Rockstar describes as sheer luck. And from that moment, she's done playing by other people's rules. She's strategic, calculated, and completely committed to changing her circumstances, by whatever means necessary. In the trailers, we see her leaving prison, training in a boxing gym, riding motorcycles, in nightclubs, counting cash, and robbing liquor stores alongside Jason. She moves through every level of Leonida's world comfortably, from the bottom to the glamorous, and looks dangerous in all of them. Rockstar has described her as the more level-headed of the two protagonists. She thinks before she moves, and a life with Jason could be her way out, or the thing that gets her killed.
Trust.
Jason Duval, the man who keeps getting in his own way. Jason is the other half of the story, and his whole arc is right there in Rockstar's official description. Jason wants an easy life, but things just keep getting harder. He grew up in the Leonida Keys, GTA's version of the Florida Keys, surrounded by grifters and criminals. He tried to escape it. He joined the army, hoping the discipline would shake off his troubled teens and put him on a different path. It didn't work. He came back to the Keys and went straight back to what he knew, working for local drug runners. At the start of the game, he's living rent-free in a property owned by Brian Heder, his boss, in exchange for helping with local shakedowns and occasionally showing up for Lori's sangria. Not exactly the easy life he was looking for, but it's manageable, until Lucia comes into the picture. Meeting Lucia, according to Rockstar, could be the best or worst thing that ever happens to him. He knows which outcome he wants, but right now, it's hard to tell. That tension, a man who keeps almost getting out, kept in by loyalty, circumstance, and his own choices, is classic GTA protagonist energy. Think of him as the muscle and the heart of the duo. Lucia is the strategy. Jason is the guy who will absolutely follow her into something stupid because he trusts her completely. His army background also matters. It means he knows how to handle himself in a fight, handle weapons, and stay composed under pressure. He's not just a street criminal, he's trained. That combination, criminal instincts plus military discipline, makes him dangerous in a way that most GTA protagonists aren't.
Love you, Jason.
Brian Heder, the old guard. Brian Heder is Jason's boss, landlord, and, in a loose sense, his mentor. He's a classic drug runner from what Rockstar calls the golden age of smuggling. He's been in the game long enough that he doesn't need to get his hands dirty anymore. He manages operations through his boatyard in the Leonida Keys while other people do the actual work. He lives with his third wife, Lori, and enjoys the coastal lifestyle that comes with having survived decades in a business where most people don't survive a decade. He's let Jason stay at one of his properties rent-free, which in this world means the rent is paid in favors, shakedowns, and showing up when Brian needs something done. The trailer shows Brian admonishing Jason for fixing leaks in his own roof instead of collecting rent from Brian's other properties. It's a small moment, but it tells you everything about the dynamic. Brian is comfortable, experienced, and expects the people around him to function within his system. He's not a flashy villain. He's the kind of criminal who's lasted because he's careful. Whether Brian ends up being a genuine ally or the thing that drags Jason and Lucia into something much bigger than they signed up for is one of the most interesting unresolved questions in the GTA 6 story so far.
Seriously, dude, you got some time on your hands. I got some properties with paying tenants.
Cal Hampton, Jason's best friend, and the Lester of GTA 6. Cal Hampton is Jason's closest friend, and he is exactly the kind of person you'd expect Jason to be friends with. Laid back, slightly chaotic, and almost certainly going to get pulled into something dangerous because of it. Rockstar describes Cal as someone who feels safest at home, snooping on Coast Guard communications with a few beers and some private browser tabs open. He's a conspiracy theorist type, paranoid, informed, and probably right about more things than people give him credit for. In the trailer, he's seen wearing a stained t-shirt with Brian Heater's Boatyard logo on it, crudely asking Jason for wingman help, which tells you everything about the energy he brings. He's being widely compared to Lester from GTA 5, the tech-savvy, socially awkward guy who doesn't go on jobs himself but provides the intelligence and the planning that makes the jobs possible. His habit of listening in on Coast Guard communications is exactly the kind of skill that becomes incredibly useful when you're running heists involving boats, coastlines, and smuggling routes. He's satisfied with his current life, but Jason's plans are probably about to rope him into something much bigger than he's comfortable with. Booby Ike, the Vice City legend. Booby Ike is one of those characters GTA does incredibly well, the self-made criminal who went legitimate enough to be untouchable. He's described by Rockstar as a local Vice City legend, and acts like it. He came up from the streets and built himself a real empire. Real estate, a strip club called the Jack of Hearts, and a recording studio. 3 completely different businesses, all funded, at least originally, by the drug trade. He's one of the few people who made it out of that world with money, status, and his skin intact. Rockstar says he's all smiles until it's time to talk business. That's a very specific kind of dangerous. The friendly face that hides the calculation underneath. He has a genuine interest in Draquan Priest and the music side of things. He's not just using it as a front, he actually seems invested in the Only Raw Records project. Whether that's because he sees real money in it, or because he wants to legitimize himself further, or both, is unclear. He's the kind of character who could easily be a mentor figure, an antagonist, or both depending on how the story plays out. In GTA, the most dangerous people are usually the ones who smile the most. Draquan Priest, the hustler with a dream. Draquan Priest is the character in GTA 6 who actually wants out. Not out of Vice City, out of the life. He's always wanted music. Even when he was dealing on the streets to make ends meet, the music industry was the goal. He's described by Rockstar as more hustler than gangster, meaning crime was always a means to an end for him, not an identity. He's been booking acts at Booby Ike's strip club, which puts him at the intersection of the entertainment world and the criminal one. Now he's signed Real Demez to Only Raw Records, Booby's label, and he's got his shot. The question is whether he can actually take it, or whether the world he's trying to leave keeps pulling him back. The dynamic between Draquan, Booby Ike, and Real Demez looks like one of the most developed subplots in the whole game. 3 people with overlapping ambitions, overlapping connections to crime, and probably overlapping ideas about who should benefit from any success that comes out of it. In GTA, that kind of setup always ends in conflict. Real Demez, Baylux, and Roxy. Real Demez is a rap duo, 2 women named Baylux and Roxy who have been best friends since high school. Their origin story is very GTA. They turned their time shaking down local dealers into music, built a social media presence, and wrote it to a hit single with local rapper DWNPLY. That single took them to new heights. And then 5 years of what Rockstar describes as a whole lot of trouble knocked them back down. They're now signed to Only Raw Records, Booby and Draquan's label, and trying to recreate that early momentum, the one-hit wonder problem. Lightning struck once. Can they make it strike again? They're interesting because they straddle 2 worlds in a way that's very modern. Social media personalities, musicians, and people with a criminal past all at the same time. That's a very specific type of character that GTA has never really explored before. Their chemistry with each other, their connection to Draquan, and whatever trouble the last 5 years brought. All of that is going to matter to the story. Raul Bautista, the bank robber. Raul Bautista is the clearest potential antagonist, or at least the most volatile wildcard, in the confirmed cast so far. Rockstar describes him as confident, charming, and cunning, a seasoned bank robber who is always on the hunt for talent, willing to take the risks that bring the biggest rewards. His recklessness, Rockstar notes, raises the stakes with every score, and sooner or later his crew is going to have to decide whether the payload is worth the liability. That last line is doing a lot of work. It suggests Raul has a habit of going too far, taking on jobs that are more dangerous than his partner signed up for, and the question of whether to stay with him or pull out is going to be a real decision for someone in this story, possibly Jason and Lucia. The second trailer shows a heavy-duty truck dragging a vault through the streets in what looks like a Fast Five-style heist. That scene has Raoul's fingerprints all over it. He's the kind of character who gives the story its most explosive set pieces, and probably its most dangerous turning point. Laurie Heater, the one we know the least. About Laurie Heater is Brian's third wife. That's most of what Rockstar has officially told us about her. But third wife in a GTA game is never just a domestic detail. It tells you Brian has outlived or outlasted two previous relationships, probably in a world where those things don't end cleanly. Laurie is aware of his criminal activities. That much is confirmed. She's not a naive character living in ignorance. She knows what her husband does. Whether she's complicit, protective of Jason, uncomfortable with it, or actively involved is completely unknown. In the trailer, Brian mentions she makes sangria, which sounds like a throwaway line, but in Rockstar's hands is always a personality detail. She's present, she's aware, and in a story about criminals trying to hold together relationships and loyalties, the women who know the truth about the men around them are almost always more important than they first appear.